Hi everybody, this is Cheryl Alger from Illustrated by Cheryl and the owner of Sassy Cheryl's Digis Shop. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to color the skin of this particular image that I just recently put in the shop. It's called A Penny for Your Thoughts with my character Sassy Sally and her little dog Bella. When we get done today, you'll have something similar to this, maybe not exactly. Now some people would use Copics, all Copics are color. Some people use Copics and Prismacolor. Some people use Prisma and Faber-Castell pencils with Gamsol or some odorless mineral spirits to blend. I particularly prefer to use a base coat with the Copic markers and then do the shading with Faber-Castells and Prismacolors. So preference is totally up to you. I know that a lot of people have asked me as far as printing, how you keep the image from smearing. It just depends on how you want to do it. I do all of mine with pencil. So I use a Krylon workable fixative. Let me zoom out here. Workable fixative, and this stuff is great. It will keep your Copics from not picking up the outline of the color. And I'm hoping in this example or the tutorial that I have let this dry long enough that it will not smear and not prove me wrong. And but if you want to, you can also use a light setting on a hair dryer. I've heard of people putting them on top of a toaster. Anything that will help it to dry, just make sure that it is completely dry, the ink is completely dry before you actually start, because I have not done so and you have to start all over, and I know that is not fun. So anyway, let's get started. For the base color of her skin, and it's not auto-focusing here, but I use E0000. I use the lightest E00, well, I use this lightest color that I have for the skin. I like to build it up. Some people use other things, and that's totally up to you. You can use whatever you have. But I have sprayed this with a Krylon fixative, and hopefully it has set long enough that it will not smear. So I'm having the light source come from this direction, so everything down on the bottom areas is going to be darker because the sun is not hitting them. So I'm putting the base coat, that's what I call it, the base coat of the E000 for the skin. And this is not an exact science. I don't usually go all the way. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's perfect because I do the shading over top. And for her legs. Bella's so sweet sleeping. Kind of makes you wonder what they're thinking. And I'm going to put a list of the supplies that I use for this particular image for her skin. But I use light peach, which is a Prismacolor. I use cinnamon for shading. I use a light flesh from Faber-Castell. This one is darker than the light peach and the Prismas, so I don't use that for the base or for the first part of the shading. I use a burnt ochre Prismacolor, but Faber-Castell has it as well. White for blending. For her cheeks, I use medium flesh. That's a Faber-Castell. And when I'm completely done with the image, if I've gone over the lines and I want them to be more defined when I'm finished, I usually use a 2B Faber-Castell drawing pencil to, touch up little areas if I've messed up. So anyway, let's get started with the shading. Okay, I very rarely start with a pointed tip. I usually have a piece of paper to the side and I kind of grind it out to get it to where I want it to be. The first part of the shading is very, very light with a light peach, the Prismacolor. And people ask me, well, how hard do you press? Well, I would not do this, but I compare putting the color down for your image as to rubbing sandpaper against a baby's face. You, of course, would not do that, but you would do it very, very lightly. That's the best way I can describe it, so I think you can get the visual on that. This is just a light touch in of the peach, and then I'll go in with the light flesh, the Faber-Castell light flesh. And this is not a buildup. If you can see the color changing, it's because this one is a little bit darker. And you can use this one instead of the light peach Prismacolor. Preference is totally up to you. This is just what I use. And again, not a very sharp tip. And I don't go very far into her face because it is easier to add than to take away. And depending upon how much light or how much light you're imagining for your source, it could be a very bright sunny day and there might not hardly be any shading at all. And yes, I was an art major, but I don't follow rules very well, so shading for me is guesswork. And I don't try to act like I'm an expert because I am not. Sometimes when I'm coloring, I try to guess where should the shading go. So now that we have that with the light flesh, I'm going to go in with my Faber-Castell cinnamon color. And again, go over top darker areas, and I work skinny to thicker. Lightly putting it down. And nobody's face is the same, so you never do the same thing twice most of the time. So however it comes out and you're happy with it, just go for it. It doesn't matter. That's why it's called art. And it's an expression of how you see things. There is no right or wrong way. Not in my book. So I'm lightly putting the cinnamon down. And I will blend just a little bit with the white. And again, not pressing very hard, because once you do blend these, especially with the white will actually lighten it up a little bit. And you will also get a shinier finish on top. Some people like to use these Prismacolor mixture pencils. I don't care for them. I have this one just to show you, but I don't care for them. So, and you can use this same technique even with your Gamsol or your odorless mineral spirits and your stumps. I'm basically using my pencil to blend where you would use the Gamsol. Then I go in with the burnt ochre. And again, picking up the areas that are darkest. That I would probably make a little bit darker because her hair is kind of flipped over. And you definitely would not see any light there. But the rest of it is just a circular motion. And I very rarely color straight. I do on pants or something to make a crease or something, but most of the time I'm always using circular motions. It's easier to control how much color you put down, and it's not so, well, you don't get those lines. And I don't know how old you are, but at 45 you don't want to see lines on your face. And this little crease, of course, her face, did not see much there either. And this here will be darker because that's under her hair a little bit. And t-shirt. And her fingers are coming up from underneath her. Crease of her leg, and underneath I will color that a little bit darker. And around her socks. And this time, instead of using the white, I'm going to use the light peach Prisma to blend this just a little. And I'm going to come further down in the middle of her face, underneath her brows a little bit. And continually blend. And more often than not, I blend from the darker out. This distributes the color. Plus it works better for me. And you continue to blend. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but you can see there's like little edges in there. I don't mind that because it's the paper. This is for example, this paper that I'm using is a drawing paper that I picked up at the local Hobby Lobby. It's a 400 series, which has the brown cover on it, if you're wondering as far as color series. Yellow, anything yellow in the Strathmore is a 300 series, which is good. If you use a 400 series, that's better, and 500 has, or the 400 has a brown cover, that's even better, and then the 500 is white. And to my knowledge, I have never seen those in any Hobby Lobby or Michael's stores, but anything that has a vellum surface or a drawing tablet type paper, it has more of a tooth to it. If you use something that has a smooth finish, it just does not pick up the Prismacolors as well. So we continue to blend while I'm yapping my jaws. Now I want just a little bit darker here towards the bottom, so I don't want to continue too far up. But I'm going to get in the corner here just a tad. And bring it down. And again, using my light peach to blend. A little bit darker under there. Okay. And like I said, I don't claim to be an expert, so if you're happy with what you've done, then put it out there. Doesn't matter what other people think as long as you're happy. Now, for her cheeks, most of the time I use this medium flesh by Faber-Castell. I'm not sure if Prismacolor has one. This is just what I grabbed when I've started with these, and this is what I've always used. I'm gonna give her not a fat cheek, but get that area around her top of her grin, and very lightly. You can probably see how dull that is. I don't use a sharp pencil for the cheeks at all. And a little bit lighter over on this side, more so here. Blend over top with the light peach. And we'll consider that pretty much done. Now, I mentioned that I use this 2B pencil. There you go. Very lightly, I go in on top, just freehand. Kind of messed up a little bit there, but oh well. And go over top the areas that have maybe been messed up by my coloring with the pencils. And sometimes I even do a little shading with my pencil after I'm done. I just like the sketchy look. And there you have it. There's Sally's skin, and again, the image is called A Penny for Your Thoughts, and it is in the Sassy Cheryl's Digis shop. It's sassycherylsdigis.com if you'd like to check that out, and I'd love to hear what you think. Have a great day.